You're watching Fuck You. Real talk, real laughs, real fun. Here we go. Welcome everybody to another episode of Fuck You. Today we are joined by my beautiful cousins, Jaclyn Ayu and Tariana Taulogo. And this one is a special one. We are actually going to be, well, not we. Jaclyn and Anna are going to... Jaclyn and Anna are going to be sharing their stories and their personal experiences about infertility and miscarriages, which, once again, is another topic that isn't usually talked about out loud and is something that we want to bring awareness to help a lot of those, I'm sure, that are secretly struggling by themselves. So we just want to let you guys know that you're not. So we hope you guys enjoy this as much as we will.
Hopefully we enjoy this.
But I guess to start, we're just going to have them share their stories. Their raw stories of their struggles, the excitements, kind of what they've gone through. And yeah. Any volunteers to start?
I can go first because mine's bubblegums. So I found out that I was pregnant, I think in January or December, I want to say. Around there. So this is pretty recent. And then I kind of delayed telling my family, even though I was like so excited because it would have been my mom's first grandchild, on her side, her first great-grandchild of anybody, because I'm the oldest grandchild on that side of my mom's side. So I was really excited to tell my family, but I kind of delayed it, and I went to my first doctor's appointment. Doctor said the baby was good. I was about 2.5 months, I want to say, pregnant when I went to the first one, and then she told me to come back in 2 weeks later for just a follow-up, just to double check like my timeline and where I was in pregnancy. And so I went into that doctor's appointment by myself because Gordon had to go into work. So I was a little uneasy about that, and then I went in and the doctor was looking for a heartbeat, and she was having problems, and already I'm getting super nervous. I'm like, maybe she just can't, maybe it's an awkward position, because I've been in, appointments with my mom where sometimes baby is fussy and like facing the wrong way. So I was just hoping it was something like that. So then she had to use a different instrument, and she was like, well, there's baby, but I don't see a heartbeat. And so I was just like trying so hard not to cry in front of the doctor because I didn't want to be like so dramatic. She was trying to explain to me that it's really common, especially if this is my first, and she explained to me that I had so many other embryos that she could see in eggs, that I had so many other chances to get pregnant, but already I was just starting to tear up and freaking out because Gordon wasn't there. And then she told me I had to fill out forms before I would go because I'd have to do a procedure to remove the rest of it from me so that it wouldn't be painful and that kind of stuff. So I had to go back out into the waiting room and try to hold back my tears and fill out these forms, and it was chicken scratch. I was trying so hard to fill them out as quickly as possible, and I turned them in. Didn't really hear what the receptionist said, took the other paperwork that I needed and ran home. And then I borrowed my mom's car, and I already told my mom and the rest of my family about it because I was already at the 3-month mark, so I was like, oh yeah, by this point baby's good, we know the heartbeat's good. And so I literally told everyone in the family like the Sunday before that appointment, and I was just like really shame about it and didn't want anyone to see me cry. So I like snuck into my mom's house, returned her keys, and then ran upstairs and like broke down as soon as I got into the house. And Gordon was working at my mail, so he didn't have cell service for like the next 3 or 4 hours. So I was just up there by myself, like crying and crying. I was sad about the loss, but I just kept comparing myself to so many other women, that, and especially in our family, because everyone has like a million kids. So I was like, what the heck is wrong with me? What did I do wrong? I think, which is what everyone goes through with this type of thing, but I guess that was my bubblegum experience. So I mean, I wasn't even that far along. You see women that literally, in our own community, like are about to give birth and then they lose their child. I think I would have literally died if that happened to me. Like just from this one experience. Um, but yeah, ew, keep crying.
It's okay. Yeah.
So keep your tissues handy.
Okay. Yeah, someone else go, cause Cradle,
Let me share my story. No, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. We'll definitely come back at the end and just talk a little bit more about that experience. But
Yes, thanks, Jaclyn.
Thank you.
These things are never easy to talk about, especially if they're so fresh still and raw. And I feel like even with years passing, it still hits hard. No matter if you go through infertility or miscarriage, it's still gonna hurt. And so, thanks for sharing.
thank you.
Is it my turn?
Yes.
Okay. Disclaimer, no way are we experts at this
Yeah,
topic.
seriously.
We're here because Quaid asked us to be. But, Kara, we're going to give our experiences, and even though we're still babies at this topic.
Yes.
But, so Ephraim and I have been married since 2014. So this year will be 6 years.
Wow, that was fast.
So fast.
6
Holy
years,
moly.
y'all. I know we made it. But, so we've been married for 6 years, and I think our first 2 years, I think it started off as like we kind of really weren't in a rush to have kids, but we also weren't preventing anything. And you aren't really considered infertile unless you have been trying and no preventative measures for about a year and nothing has happened. Then you would be considered infertile. And so the first 2 years, I mean, it was all fun and games.
Yes.
We're still in that phase. Yeah.
Yes, that part I can relate to.
And then I think it wasn't until we always knew we wanted to have kids, but Ephraim and I are pretty fresh, so we wanted to get to know each other better. And to be honest, in the back of my head, I kind of had a feeling I would have a hard time because I wasn't. We're going TMI on this, but I wasn't regular with my cycles, my menstrual cycles. And so, menstrual cycles. So I kind of have the feeling, and my mom had a hard time too, and there are a few ladies in our family that have had that problem, but I was hoping it'd be fine, after my mission, because I served a mission, right?
Yeah.
It should be fine after that, cured. But that wasn't the case. So I'm thinking about 2018, January of 2018, Ephraim and I got serious about it, and actually 2017. And things just weren't happening, and so we went to the lady doctor just to make sure everything was okay, and they sent us to a fertility specialist. And so this is probably year 3 on our marriage, and since then, I mean, the entire year of 2018 we were doing fertility treatments. So lucky for me, I have a diagnosis. It's called PCOS, but it just, I mean, if you are in the world of infertility and trying to conceive, and you did your research, you would know what that is. So shout out to all my trying to conceive community. But I went through everything. We went through the very basic of processes. Then we started going more invasive, and we went all the way up to our very first IVF treatment, and in vitro is what it's called. And I was kind of nervous because I just was nervous. But I remember going into it, and we already told our family, of course, Jaclyn, and I think we just got too excited. We're like so confident it was gonna work because we had a few people in our family try, and it worked, and so I was like, oh, it should be fine for me, I'm younger and my body seems like it can handle. Tests were fine. So we got the go, and when we went through this IVF treatment, I mean, it's already emotional and put through your body through so much. Like, you're taking all these medications, and my body was just so, oh my gosh, I was tired of all these shots and whatever. But so we did it, and it was, to our surprise, did not work. And I think the first thing you think of is just the same feelings as Jaclyn. It just was like, okay, you see all these girls, they teenagers getting pregnant, all the people dropping their kids off in the trash can, you know, all of these things that you're just like, I'm doing everything that I can possibly do. I'm here doing the most. Like, if this doesn't work, oh my gosh, I don't know when I'm gonna have kids, how I'm gonna have kids. But it was such a sad, very, very sad moment. Moment for both Ephraim and I to. We thought that that was like our last hope at having or at conceiving our own biological children. So emotionally, it was just all over the place for us. It was so sad, especially when you've been wanting it for so long, and then you get to that point, and you're just like, "What the heck? It didn't work. Like, what do we do now?" So, it was really, really sad time for us, and it took us a while to get over that loss. To me, it was a loss, even though I never conceived. It was still a loss of time, money, and just a waste of time to me. In the moment, it's so irritating, but so that's us, and to this day we're still trying. Haven't really been able to have that experience yet of holding my own child in my womb, but one day that will happen.
Well, thank you guys for sharing your stories.
Sorry, that was a long one.
No, so just, I mean, like Anna said, we have, I mean, I'm sure we can all think of maybe a dozen people who have experienced either infertility or miscarriages. But I think for me, especially in our family, it's not really like a couple of our aunties and cousins have gone through this, but it's something that's like just said once, and once it's said, it's never brought, like nobody ever talks about it, nobody ever. I mean, and I think
taboo, but now I'm starting to think people just aren't educated enough about it, and so they're not aware.
and I think that's a big thing, because for me, after finding out, so for Jaclyn's miscarriage, I found out through Gordon over a text message, or he texted me asking if he can call me. So he called me, and I was at work at Teddy's Grill, and he told me what happened. And I think at first it was kind of just like okay, what do I do now? Like, how can I not necessarily fix this, but how do I, like, what do I say? What do I, because it's something that's, I mean, none of us really have good training on how to handle.
I reacted horribly.
Yeah.
Like, I had, like, I wanted to stay in my room all day, and I told Gordon that he needs to tell everyone, because I didn't want to have to, like, see someone in public, which happened to me still so many times, where I see someone in public, and they're like, oh, how's the baby? Or, like, even start touching my stomach. And I just, like, don't know what to say. So I've even actually not told people that, even after I miscarried, that I, like, am just told so-and-so to tell so-and-so to tell so-and-so that I lost the baby, so that I wouldn't have to, like, sit there and then have them feel so bad for me. Because then it just is, like, re-stirring up everything in public.
Also, a little embarrassing was to me, too, that I told everybody, and then now you have to, like, go back and be like, oh, gosh.
100%.
Sorry, guys, JK.
I guess when people would approach you, like, after, I mean, you found out that you weren't able to get pregnant, after you found out about your miscarriage, when people would ask you about it, or, like, they weren't informed that you know, had the miscarriage or it didn't work, when they would ask you, would that bring up the same feelings? Would you think, like, was it hard every single time somebody asked you about?
I think, like, when I first went back to work, it for sure was. Because a lot of my coworkers, like, at my job, it's really hard to hide that you're pregnant, because you can't go zip lining. Oh, if you didn't know, I work at the zip lining in Taulogo, and you can't go zip lining if you're pregnant. So, like, as soon as you stop going on tours, it's a dead giveaway that you're pregnant. And so everyone would ask me, like, if I was injured or sick or something, because that's the only other excuse. So I think a lot of them knew that I was pregnant, even though I didn't tell them. And then going back to work and being on tours, they're like, what the heck, you haven't been on tour in 3 months. What are you doing on tour? They didn't know what to say. And so, like, I had one coworker, shout out to Cami, that had a miscarriage. And so she was, like, really, really helpful in kind of facilitating my coworkers as well as my bosses in, like, how to react or respond to my situation, which was so helpful. Like, took a million pounds of burden off my shoulders, because she would just tell my bosses what I needed or give me the time off that I needed. But yeah, for sure, if someone would ask me, I think I would definitely start tearing up, especially like my close friends.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know, everyone was having babies while I was, and so I was like, yes, I'm gonna have a baby and all this stuff. And
it's just a trigger.
Yeah, it really is. And I don't think people mean to.
Yes.
They really have great intentions. Yeah. Like they really want to know how you're doing. But I think I just wasn't ready, or I didn't expect to have a miscarriage, so I didn't expect how to react to it.
You weren't prepared.
I wasn't at all.
Yeah.
Like Cueto was so nice, came up and brought me flowers and all this stuff, and I like wouldn't even come out of the bathroom. I was so mad at Gordon for telling Cueto to come up because I was like, I don't want to see it. My eyes are swollen. I look like a freaking crazy person. But yeah, I just wasn't ready for that. I don't think.
It's especially it's still raw. I think it's just raw for me. I mean, and then same thing, would just sit inside my room some days, and I'm like, I kind of wanted to avoid people for that very purpose. Because, like you said, like, they don't mean to, but it just
I just wanted people to treat me normal.
Yes.
Like, I didn't want people to ask me if I was okay. Like, I was, like, after, like, probably a week or two, if someone came and brought me stuff, I was, like, so grateful and happy to see them and just talk story, but not to, like, talk about having a miscarriage. And I wanted to go out and do stuff, not...
Yeah.
It just takes
and I think that's just
different too.
Yeah, and I think everybody's different, and I think it's, I mean, because you can see some people are way more open about it. Like some people handle it way better than other people, but yeah, I think that's just hard just to figure out where that point is and how you can like help what to say, and stuff like that. But I know for those of you who don't know, none of them have our beautiful niece.
Yes.
Tariana.
My sis.
And so I guess, what was that process like? Like, did you guys, even during your procedures of in vitro, were you guys thinking of a plan B, or was it always just you guys thought you were gonna get pregnant?
Yeah.
And
we were always open to it. I just feel like we both talked about it, and we're like, what if we ever have to go this route? And we were so down to do it. One of the things that we decided to go to IVF first was because it was included in Ephraim's insurance plan to do once in a lifetime.
That's nice.
So we're like, why not give that a try? And adoption was like, we didn't miss a beat. With the next week, we were able to ask some of our family members. But it was one of those things you just have to be open to, you know? Like, IVF, to be honest, I thought was the end of the world, but it really isn't. There are so many good children that are looking for homes, and Heavenly Father will provide a way to get them to you, and that's exactly what He did for us. So she satisfied my baby, and I'm so grateful for her. She's been such a blessing.
She's the best.
So yeah, it's the cutest.
That's good. That's good, and we love her.
Seriously, she's so
She
pretty.
is one of us.
She literally looks
you.
like
I know.
It's all these little miracles. So we're grateful that IVF though prepared us for for us to be ready for a miracle like her. We appreciate it much more. So.
And so I guess if you could go back and give yourself advice during these hard times, I guess what kind of would your advice be to yourself now that you can think back on how you handled these situations, kind of your feelings and your thoughts?
Man, I just think I took things too personal. Like Jaclyn said, people aren't aware, and especially our families, especially our fertile family, that they just never understood. And I think every time somebody would ask, like, girl, how come you don't have kids yet? You guys need to hurry up, not knowing that. No,
girl, we've been trying.
Like, we know already. You tell the Lord, hurry up too. Like, just those things I took I took it to heart a lot, and like for real there would be weeks where I would just go to work, come straight home, and would just stay at home, and I wouldn't even come out unless we had food outside. but I would avoid people like that would trigger me for a good couple weeks, and it just would. I would just get so mad, and they didn't mean to, you know, and that's what I kind of wish that I wouldn't take it too personal, that they meant well, that they don't understand what you're going through, but to just try to understand too what they don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was one of them. There's other things, but what about you, Jaclyn?
Jeez, I don't know, because I feel like I'm still in that. Like
Mm-hmm.
No.
I still am.
For babies.
Yeah, like it just happened to me one time. Like we were kind of trying to have babies, but I mean, we weren't at the same time. Like
Yes.
it happened. But I think, I think what was cool about it is that like after I miscarried and everyone found out, so many other women that I had no idea had infertility problems or had miscarriages before, like all of a sudden, like almost half of my family members had miscarriages before. Like even my mom, I forgot that my mom had one miscarriage before. I mean, even though she's just as fertile as hell. But I think I would just tell myself right now to just stop comparing myself to other people, because it's just like a buzzkill to compare yourself to other people, and I don't think other people are trying to rub it in your face. Like, I get so irritated when I see people posting their like pregnancy photos and all
Gender
of those.
reveals.
I'm like so happy for them, but like at the same time, like
Mixed emotions.
just envy them. So I think that would be my advice to myself: just stop. Just stop comparing yourself to others.
To this day, and it's hard,
Yeah.
you know, just because. But same thing as Jaclyn. Everyone has their own journeys, you know. And for mine, it was the same with. I would hate when my friends would complain they had 2 kids, but they have a problem. There's something called secondary infertility where you're having a hard time having more kids. So they're also included on the infertility spectrum, you know. But even that was just like, why are you complaining? You have 2 kids, but it's still hard for them too.
Yeah.
And so just that, like, don't compare. Everyone has their different journeys. So
I feel like in the movies too,
That's a good
like
thing.
or like everywhere, you just see people like you see their triumphs, but you don't see their struggles.
Yes.
So you think to yourself that it's all just gonna be peaches and cream and everything's you're gonna have however many kids you want and just have a perfect family, but it's just so not like that. And I think.
And I think that's one thing I was just gonna ask you guys. Do you think it would have been helpful if more women kind of shared their struggles of having do you think that it could have prepared you more for situations like this, or do you think it's just you're grateful for what you've learned on your own?
I mean, I don't think that women should have to like talk about this because this is such a like traumatic. It is a traumatic experience, but I feel like if it was more of a public idea that
This
majority
happens.
of women have trouble getting pregnant at first, then I wouldn't have felt as bad as I did. But I think no matter how much people talk about it, it's still gonna suck.
hurt. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It does.
It's still gonna suck, but
For me, it helped. Well, with infertility, there's such a huge community I didn't know, and I would camp on baby boards, like Google this, and I would always look for people who were going through the same thing because I struggled. And once again, it's the awareness, you know, and I mean, I'm kind of mixed. Some people can share, some people should. I think it'll be more helpful to yourself, honestly, than it is for other people. But the last week of April is usually, see, I'm a huge fanatic on infertility. It's National Infertility Awareness Week.
I didn't even know that.
It's usually the last week of April. So I didn't know, and it's purple like thing and theme, but when I saw random women start posting it, it really helped me. I was kind of like, oh my gosh, and I would message them on Instagram, you know, when I'd see it on their story and be like, oh my gosh, are you struggling, you know, like, and you know, it's so cool to see that. It's kind of comforting in a way. Awesome. I mean, I feel bad cheering that you have infertility too, but for me it's like all the difference in the world. So if you do have the courage to share it because it'll help other people.
And I think that's crazy too, because like when you're talking about, I have a cousin in particular who has 2 kids already, and they have been trying since, and I think she actually, what's that called when you stop yourself from having children? Tie your tubes.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Tie your tubes.
Yes.
So, and she's had.
I just said stab yourself.
Oh, sorry,
I was
no,
like,
I
oh
couldn't.
my gosh, kill your cousin.
No, but and so they've actually done that, and I know it was something that was very hard for her because, well, her miscarriages before that too were, like, some were already stillborns, like, and so it was really hard, and so, I mean, I was just thinking like, man, that's crazy to keep trying, and having so much fails, and so I definitely feel for, I mean, I feel for everybody who has miscarriages, but I think it'd be harder to have it and then keep having to go through the same thing over and over.
Like, oh, it should come easy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Like, kind of like
girls
you've
in
been.
high school that get pregnant on
Yeah.
accident. Like Anna was saying, people throw away their babies.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what the heck?
And I think growing up too, because nobody growing up shared about their miscarriages, so you thought everybody just got pregnant and
Yeah.
nothing happened. Like, there are very few stories that I remember growing up.
Yeah.
I don't
Even,
think I
like,
heard
right
any.
Before I got married, though, like, if people didn't have babies, I thought that they just didn't want babies at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that
It
they were
wasn't-
trying
yeah.
forever, and
And
they,
then-
like... So I think I would even
Uh-huh.
say stuff like that. Like,
Yeah,
so when
I
are you gonna have
did too.
kids?
Yeah.
Like,
I had no.
so innocent,
Oh, I
but
definitely know I'm guilty.
now looking back, I was like, oh, what a stupid thing to say. Like,
Yeah. It's so hard. And I still, to this day, couples, like, so I'm like 6 years in, Jaclyn's only like 2 years in,
Yeah.
like 20 years. I'm
Mhm.
talking about cousins that have been 15 years. It's, once again, we're babies in the subject.
yeah.
But we're
Babies.
still on our journey, and I feel like we have a little glimpse of it, and it still sucks.
Yeah.
Like, no matter how long you've been in it, whether you just started your journey, like, it's still hard, and we get it.
We're here.
Support circle. I can bring you flowers and chocolate.
As long as it's good for us.
Can't relate
We'll
to
take
anything
it.
else, but
That's what this is for, right? Just to bring
yeah,
awareness.
just to bring
Yeah.
awareness, and that's the thing.
People need to know.
Uh-huh.
Stop asking.
Yeah.
Yeah?
So I think, okay, so I guess what would be your advice? Because I mean, I know we can't really stop, and I mean it's hard to
Yeah, it's hard.
to know who kind of
Yeah.
went through it and who didn't. So
Mhm.
I guess what would kind of be like advice to others? I guess, I mean, because we all want, I mean, I think it's a natural thing to ask somebody how they're doing, like how their pregnancy's
So
going.
when they're not kids,
Yeah.
hurry up and have kids.
But like, what's one thing, maybe that's an experience that happened to you that you would just wish somebody didn't say? AKA the story you told me.
Share that tea. Share
Okay, like, okay, you have to understand that this friend, like, it just
Bless her
really-
heart.
Bless her heart if you're watching too.
Oh, she
Yeah.
will watch.
She probably won't even
Bless
know
your
I'm
heart.
talking about her. But I had a friend, like, literally a week after, probably like a week or a few days after my friends found out that I had miscarried, asked me, like, so what happened? What did you do wrong so that I don't do that? Like, about having a miscarriage. And I was just like, did she
What is wrong
really
with
just
you?
say that? Like, I honestly cried. Like,
Uh-huh.
I cried so hard. And then, like, after a month or two, I was like, I realized that this friend did not mean it that way.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't hear it when she
Yeah.
says it, but I know she had, like, really good intentions. Now, I probably don't ask somebody
Don't ask.
what they did wrong.
It's
to
not
have
their
a
fault.
miscarriage. But then I had to explain to her that my doctor said that it normally happens to people, and it was really early in my pregnancy, so it wasn't. She said that I shouldn't go and check for, like, infertility problems or anything yet,
Uh-huh.
especially because it was
It's
just my
just your
first
first.
time.
Mhm.
But yeah, so that was my one experience of someone saying something very interesting to me.
Oh my gosh.
So once again, everybody, it is not the mother's
But drop
fault.
in the comments if you can guess which friend it has said that.
You can guess which friend it is. I will personally give you
Is it a real girl?
cookies.
Or is it a girl?
Cedars cookies. This is a real girl.
Girl.
She's kind of in between.
That just didn't give it away. No, just kidding. Oh man, something I wish I didn't say. Okay, there are a bunch of things that I used to get triggered by, and my infertility crew once again came through with the same feeling, so I don't feel bad for saying it. But I think people try to be comforting, but they always say something like, "Girl, look at that girl. She's 20 years, and this person took 5 years. They've been waiting forever, and you still have time. You're still young." And there's one thing. It's like so okay. I'm probably gonna get zapped for saying this. Like, I served a mission. I did everything. I'm strong-ish in the church, and I already know Heavenly Father and Jesus. Like, there's a way. Yes, on His time. Yes, His will. But when you hear it over and over again, like that. In the moment, just shut up. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, we know. Like, every time in my head, that's exactly what I sounded like. Like, yay! Yeah. We know He has a will.
We know He has plans.
But I remember, like, that was honestly the one time my friend was going through the same thing, and I said that to her, and she was like, His will so. And it's just so frustrating in the moment, but like, sometimes we don't need you to even say anything. Yeah. Like, just sit there and sorry if you're uncomfortable with awkwardness, but that's just fine. Just listen. Like, you don't have to even say anything. You know,
I just want it to be normal. Like, we just want to be normal. Like, So don't just
so don't compare you to other women.
Yes, like saying those things. Yeah. And I think another thing is just like, girl, relax. When they have kids, they have it. You don't have to keep asking like, why you gonna have kids? Hurry up and have kids. Just little things like that. I mean, for me now it's funny. But some people to this day is triggered. Like, it's still a trigger for them.
Especially since it's like such a dramatic.
Yes.
I'm not dramatic.
It's hard.
Traumatic.
And for those who
could be dramatic.
Yeah, like friends that are always like, "Oh, enjoy your time together with your husband. And you don't need kids, you know." And I'm like, "Okay, we're struggling to have kids. Like, we want to." And I just want you to think of it. Like, picture the kids that you have. Imagine not having them in your home. Like, that's the kind of feeling we feel every day, that we want that feeling. So just be careful.
Yes. Okay, and I don't know if this is a good question to ask, or I don't know if I'm going to word it correctly, but I guess kind of what is your feelings now? Like, is it harder for you going into trying to are you just trying to have kids still, or is it something that you're just leaving it up to the Lord? Or like, kind of what are your feelings and thoughts after, for other women who are struggling, like who just may have just had a miscarriage? Like, what are your feelings for the future? Like, what are your hopes or wishes?
Like, me and Gordon are still like, I don't know, my mind changes like every other day, because it is still so fresh in my mind that like I don't want to be feeling like that again, and I tell Gordon that all the time. But then like other days I see Tariana and Henrietta and Tamara outside, and I'm like, oh, I want a baby so bad. Like,
those are our 3 babies.
Yes, our 3 babies.
Yeah, I keep forgetting that. So I'm like surrounded by babies all the time. So then I'm like, want babies so bad, and I feel like I feel pressure, especially from like his side of the family. Should I say that? Because like scripture says, you know, scripture says multiply and replenish, and I was like, at first was like, I am not having babies. I'm a baby. I don't want babies. But like, if I miss a period, I like get so nervous because, well, like especially because it is so recent from the thing the doctor was saying. Sorry, TMI. The doctor was saying that your period can become irregular after that kind of procedure. Yes. So then I don't know, like, you know, like
if it's the procedure.
If it is, and I don't want to know if I am, because I'm like, don't tell me until I'm like 6 months pregnant and I know what gender is already, like until you can see my stomach. But then other days I'm like, I need to know right this second, because then I need to be doing every single thing that I need to do to make sure that it's healthy, baby. So I am like freaking hella bipolar right now with my pregnancy journey. Definitely are not on birth control, so I guess that says one thing, but you know, I'm okay with not having a baby right this second because I have so many babies to just go and play with outside. It kind of pacifies my need for babies. Even like takes away my want for babies sometimes. When Tamara sleeps over, and when Tarina runs away and I want to chase after her, I'm like, Oh, thank you, Jesus, for not giving me a baby yet. But yeah, I guess I'm just kind of all over.
I think I'm kind of the same. I'm grateful. We adopted our daughter. She's 16 months, and she, for real, my goodness, like, I'm not satisfied. Like, it's to a point where now me and Ephraim watch her, and she loves playing with kids, and we feel so bad because she's in the house sometimes with us all day, and she gets so bored, and you can tell. So when her cousins come over, anyways, my point is that she needs a sibling, and so now those feelings are starting to come back, but at the same time, it's not like Jaclyn. I'm very bipolar, and I'm more worried now for her because I'm like, oh my gosh, she needs somebody to play with. But I mean, we're still trying, and we're gonna keep going because I mean, we're still young.
Yeah.
Like, we still have time, and I mean, clock's ticking for women, but still, when you hear that too, it's so it is. But it's I think we'll soon. Yeah. So keep trying.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Have fun.
I know, have fun too. Why not?
Yeah, have fun. It's fun. Being members of the church, being both active-ish, very active-ish.
I don't want to teach
in
them.
the church.
I
In the church, like, was it hard to understand or to feel like this was part of the Lord's plan for you? Or do you kind of feel like it was just kind of a punishment, or just kind of what were your thoughts on that?
Oh, that's another thing.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jaclyn.
I totally felt that. It's like, especially in my dramatic self.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I thought that God was punishing me for something. Like, what am I doing? Like, literally every time, what am I doing wrong? Like, and like Anna was saying, everyone would say that you'll have kids in the Lord's time. You know, when you're ready. And then when people would say when you're ready, you'll have a child. I was like, are you trying to tell me that I'm not ready for kids? Like, you're telling me that I'm not ready for kids. Like, how that's supposed to make me feel? And I know people didn't mean it that way, but I totally took it that way because I thought the same things about myself. Like, maybe the Lord doesn't want me to have kids. Maybe this isn't it. Like, it's so easy to get in that mindset straight off the bat. Like, oh my gosh, I'm never gonna have kids. This is not for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Automatic.
yeah. And I know that, like, that's probably what I would say to other people too. Like,
sorry.
Me too. I'm sorry if I told you trust the Lord.
I do, but
I trust him, but
do the work.
yeah, but sorry.
Yeah, I think just growing up in the church too. That's why, like, you say it as part of the young women thing. Like, you grow up to want to be a mom, and then when it's time to, you have your chance to be, like, it doesn't happen. And it was the same thing, I think, too. We thought, I'm grateful for Bishop Manumaleuna. He was one of the things, he's like, don't think that just because you do this, that you'll get this. Like, sometimes, you know, it's just automatic, though, in your brain. Like, oh, my goodness, like, am I not good enough? Why did that person get pregnant at 16? Like, why did I... And then I was thinking, oh, my gosh, what am I doing wrong? Like I said, I'm doing all of these things, Lord. All of these things. Where you at? You know, like... And it's so frustrating, I think, especially, you know, I look in my patriarchal blessing. Girl, count how many times people told me go look at my patriarchal blessing. Girl, I already saw them, okay?
That's
Oh
me
my gosh,
too.
when I read red lines and it said that I'll bring kids into this
And
world,
that was mine.
I cried.
Yes.
I was like,
yes. We already, I'm a vessel, I get it. That's what I said.
Yeah.
And, you know, and that's one of the, like, we get it. We know. We have
Yeah.
testimonies of that. And I think it's just... It's just irritating.
Yeah.
I don't
we
know.
love you, but shut up. Okay?
Honestly,
Just pray for it.
I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm sure people are like, you know, right now.
Well, I think that was the same thing with me too. Like, going on my mission, I was exactly obedient.
Yes.
And I prayed, like, okay, God, I'm doing this. When I get home, I better be straight. But
We thought you were for like 10 minutes.
But
You tricked us.
But I think it's just kind of, we already know, especially for like those who are active members of the church who have a testimony. We know that the Lord has a timetable, but it's one thing to know it and then to have to go through it and learn it. And we don't need your reminders.
We love you though.
We love
still
you
love
though.
you.
Just pray and fast for us.
Yeah,
Before
just
you take-
actually go and pray and don't have to text us.
Yeah,
praying
text
for
us that you prayed for us.
And that's a hard thing too. Like we know that he has a time, like but it's just in the moment. It's not needed,
Yes. So I guess to close this episode out, what is, I guess, some words of encouragement, some words of advice that you would give to other women out there who are maybe going through miscarriage right now, or who may in the future, or infertility, and trying all these different things but aren't succeeding? Like, what is something that you, if you could sit down with somebody who's going through the same things that you went through, what is something that you would say to them?
I think you're not alone. I think that's the number one thing that just came to my head. There's so many women that are struggling with the same thing as you, and everybody's journey is just different, like Jaclyn said, stop comparing. You're fine, girl. Keep going. Like I said, your journey, you figure out the path and the journey that you and your significant other need to take. And one thing too was people would come up to me and tell me like, oh, I don't believe in fertility treatments because like that's like you're playing God.
What?
That's crazy.
Wow. So glad I haven't talked to these people yet.
And that's the kind of people like you just ignore. And don't listen to that. Like, do whatever your journey, whatever your heart, whatever you prayed about, whatever you fasted about with you and your husband. Don't even worry about everybody else. Do it, I feel like, yes, it's the Lord's will, but if you're showing him that you're trying to do everything that you can, he's going to help you. And I feel like that's one of the things that I was grateful for. So just do whatever path you feel you and your husband need to take, or girlfriend, whatever. Take it. And don't be scared. Just go.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't even think I have advice to give. I mean, I think I'm in that boat with you right now. Like, if you guys are having problems getting pregnant, I think if I was sitting face to face with someone like me, I would just tell them, I feel you, sis. Like Anna was saying, really, I think that's what I wanted to hear the most, was that you're not alone. Like, it happens to so many other people. And really just stop comparing yourself to others. I know it's so hard to not compare yourself to others, because that's like what just overtook my whole mind, was comparing myself. But I think that's the main thing, to just focus on what you need, and not try to please everyone else and make everyone else feel okay about your situation, but focus on what you need to feel better, and to feel normal again. And then just do you, boo. Do you. F the haters.
F that. Well, thank you again, my cousins, for joining us today. And once again, you can include all of us in your circle if you are struggling. You need 100%. Somebody to talk to.
I'm here.
I promise I can sit there and just nod my head and
fall asleep,
pat you on your back if you need it. But once again, thank you guys all for watching again. Don't forget to don't foo-foo, find somebody else to do it for you. No, just kidding. But don't forget to like, share, comment. And let's just continue to bring awareness, bring comfort, and help to those around us. We love you guys.
Love you. Yeah.